In today's video, I am going to be going over all of my 5-star reads of 2025. These are fantasy and romance books that I am obsessed with and have been obsessed with since I closed the last page. So if you like fantasy, romance, romantasy, and emotional love stories, then this video is for you. Hey readers, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Wendy and I read fantasy and romance books. So if you are very interested in keeping up with my reads, don't forget to subscribe and keep going on this journey with me. This video today is very important. It is a culmination of the reads that I have gone through and also the reads that have stayed with me. These are reads that I personally have clung to and I absolutely cannot forget them. They live rent-free in my head, and obviously I want to share them with you. These are my 5-star reads. These are my obsessions. These are books that I literally think about and I'm looking at the ceiling and I'm thinking, damn, what happened to these people? So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first book on the list is A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. Now this book right here had me on a chokehold. I couldn't forget about it. It is basically a love letter to Dracula from his wife. And let me tell y'all, this woman survived. This woman survived abuse, manipulation, everything in between. It is such a dark story, but also very freeing because this is her letter to him after death. And she is reclaiming herself. She is reclaiming her person, who she is, and not what she's become, but also finding her footing in a world where she had to depend on Dracula. I mean, the book doesn't outright say it's Dracula, but we all know it's Dracula. But the FMC, or female main character, did go through a lot, including a non-consensual kind of polyamorous relationship that Dracula wanted. At the end of the day, she did conform to it. She did agree to it, and she became friends with the other two, very close friends. And so they set out on a journey for freedom. This book right here, I kept thinking about it. I still think about it from time to time because it is such a short, well-written story that encaptures just a woman freeing herself from shackles. I have to recommend this book for any dark romance readers because it is absolutely, it's just such a phenomenal story. The next one on the list is One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. Now, this is a dual series. I myself found the first book at Sam's Club and I had to get it. It was on sale, but I read the second book on my Kindle and y'all, the story is phenomenal. I'm thinking about it today. I'm obsessed with it. It is very dark. It is very much giving Hallows Eve vibes. And this book right here is such a good romance fantasy book. This duology is so amazing in that their magic system is just so different than what I'm used to reading. The magic system revolves around cards, and I laugh at that because I'm thinking about trading cards like Pokemon cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards. The magic is held within these cards, so you tap them 3 times and you get the magic. So in this book, the goal is to reunite 12 cards in order to break a curse that is overtaking the kingdom slowly but surely with fog. And now these people are just trying to get rid of this thing so they can cleanse themselves from this illness or fever. It is amazing, and I recommend this book for anyone that is feeling in a comfy, I want Halloween again vibe. I read this during like the Halloween season, October season, and it was just the perfect fit for me because I wanted something not so scary, but also not so, I don't know, I just wanted something different. I am a very mood reader, so picking up this book, I was just kind of like, okay, I'm in a mood for something dark, but at the same time, I want romance. And this book gave romance, dark, very much mystical fantasy. The next one on the list is Direbound by Sable Sorensen. Now, these are 2 authors that created this book. It is an unfinished series, but let me tell y'all, this book had me in a chokehold. If you are suffering from fourth wing withdrawal, then this book is amazing for that because it literally gave everything. Like, you know how Fourth Wing, they're bonding with dragons? Well, this book, they're bounding themselves to dire wolves. And this is such an amazing story. The FMC finds herself in a position where she has to be within the elitists, basically sign herself up for the army in their world. So then she is able to get selected to have a chance of bounding with a direwolf. And I think that that was amazing. And I loved the relationship between the direwolf that this young lady ends up bounding herself to, because they have a rocky relationship, but also they have what appears to be a Zayden. He's just badass. Like, he is just that dark character that you just don't know much about. You're trying to figure this character out. Is he evil? Is he not? What is his intentions? And then it's kind of like enemies to lovers, but I absolutely enjoyed this book. The next book comes out 3 days after my birthday next year in 2026, which is May 5th. My birthday's May 2nd. I cannot wait to dive into this book because literally I have to do like another reread because it's just embedded in my brain and I absolutely cannot get over this book. I was just so hype about it. And I don't see enough people talking about this book. But if you are waiting for like the rest of us, Fourth Wing to come out, Rebecca to actually get to writing, then this book can probably hold you over till then. The next one on the list is Crescent and the Crown by Millie Moss. Now, I just want to say this author, she is extremely kind and generous, and she is such a lovely person to talk to. I had the chance to meet her and interview her. I will link those down below. But this book, absolutely, I enjoyed it. It had a little bit of comedy, it had spice, it had a little bit of everything, including mythology and different gods. And it was such an incredible world to dive into, and especially with the FMC Ivy. This character feels like she went through a lot. She went through a big ordeal as a fae, and then she ended up in this otherly world that seems like heaven, but it's not heaven. It's just a different realm, I guess you can say. But she finds her footing, she finds her strength, and then she meets a man. Yes, this is also romance and fantasy. So she meets this man, and well, he is also a demigod. But this story isn't about just the demigod being holier than thou person. This character allows her to be herself, allows her to take the reins, and allows her to be in her power, which I appreciated. So if you haven't picked up this book is amazing, and I appreciated the little comedy with Thor inside this book. So if you want to check it out, I will link it down below of my review and also Millie Moss's author interview. The next one on the list is Bride of Ashes by Elia Wells. This book right here had me up at 3 in the morning. I couldn't stop reading. Mind you, I have a toddler. So I woke up a bunch of times in the morning, tired as hell. But you know what? It was worth it. Now, this book features an arranged marriage, and there's some secrets going on in this kingdom. And once this FMC or female main character arrives at this kingdom, she is seeking to uncover these mysteries behind this king. Boy, the ending of this book threw me for a loop. I was just like, I was expecting something, but I wasn't expecting all the shenanigans to happen at the end of this book. The series is definitely worth it. It has a little bit of love triangle, and then it also has a little bit of suspenseful energy, and the FMC just trying to find her way and navigating her life as a new bride, as a new wife, trying to love this person, trying to get to know him more. And as she gets to know this person, she falls in love with him, but she also falls in love with his bodyguard. So this is giving Whitney Houston's Bodyguard, but also she's in love with the king. So this is a very worthy read. This was definitely hands down 5 stars. I enjoyed the series. The next one on the list is House of Rain by Harley LaRue. Now this book, y'all, I was stunned. I was too stunned to speak. It was literally just amazing. It is LGBTQIA friendly, and it involves 2 women, and these women obviously like each other. They don't know each other. They met each other up, had a one-night stand. They end up finding out that one of these women is staying at the other woman's hotel that she owns for vacation. So there is a lot of lusting and thinking, and oh man, listen, it's very spicy. I mean, I'm talking about like 5 jalapeno spicy. And if you love a good LGBTQI friendly book with spice and just scary shenanigans, I mean, this island that they're staying at, it has a lot of mystery. And also the FMC or female main character is uncovering these secrets. The other young lady is, because I can't remember names for the life of me, but I remember the stories. I'm getting old. But the other lady is just uncovering her trauma and basically going through the ordeal of her trauma. However, this book was amazing. This book had a creature that is residing in this island killing people and crawling on all fours. I mean, this had suspense, romance, just freeing yourself from trauma. It's very healing, getting to know who you are, accepting who you are. I absolutely enjoyed it, and I cannot rave about this book enough. Talked about it on my TikTok, and I'm like, listen, y'all need to read this. If you haven't read this, I suggest you do. It was amazing. The next one on the list is The Things We Leave Unfinished by Rebecca Yarros. Now, this book right here was very, it left me empty at the end. It's one of these books that you think about at night and you're like, but what if? But what if in a perfect world, these characters had the perfect ending? Because the ending of this book, it feels unfinished to me because I got attached to the characters. It's one of those books that stay with you. Like I remember waking up the next morning and I'm like, I feel empty. What if in a perfect world these people survived? But anyways, this book is a romance book, and I absolutely loved the whole theme of just military. Although this has more to do with Air Force because you're dealing with an airman. This is just such an intricate love story. Just the amount of things that these people go through, I just fell for them. And it makes you feel like you're at war and your honey is in the air and you are yearning for them to come back home every night. I felt anxiety too. I'm not gonna lie. I felt anxiety. I'm like, oh my gosh, Scarlett, like she has to see her man. Like Rebecca did an amazing job with capturing just the longing, the waiting of military spouses, and especially when you are pregnant and you're waiting for your spouse to come back home and you're waiting for news and you're waiting for, you know, the knock at the door to tell you, hey, like your spouse is gone. I absolutely think about this book. It is very emotional, just what happens in this book to Scarlett, the FMC. I thoroughly enjoyed it. That's all I can say about this book. It left me stunned at the end. The plot twists, Rebecca did so well with this. So this is definitely a must read if you like military romance, if you like romances that have you just heartbroken and also just emotional. Not in an emotional boo-hoo way, but emotional as in like, damn, you feel the empathy, like you feel all those emotions that these people and these characters are going through, then this is the perfect book for you. The next one on the list is Legendborn. Now, this book I absolutely loved. I went through the whole motion of anger. I went through grief. I went through pain. I went through, oh my gosh, there's magic. This book right here is amazing. Now, this is one book out of a 3-book series so far. There's Legendborn, there's Bloodmarked, and then the third book is called Oathbound. Oathbound, I read on my Kindle. Let me tell y'all, this series is a must read. If you have not read it in 2025, please put this in your TBR for 2026. It is so worth the read. It goes into so much Black history, culture. I appreciated the fact that the author took the time to actually dive into grief and what it feels like to actually lose a parent. I myself lost my mom very young. And so Bree, the female main character in this book, also lost her mom at a very young age. And then when I read the author's note, I found out that the author also lost her mom at a young age. So there's just so much in common that I have with these two women, both the author and the FMC of this book. So Bree is on a quest to find out what exactly happened to her mother. She thinks that this car accident wasn't really all that. And what I mean by that is she thinks that there's something else that happened, that it wasn't just a car accident, that there must be something hidden underneath her mother's death. So she is set out on a quest to find out what happened to her by joining a secret society in this college down south called Legendborn. Now, this secret society, there is not one colored person. It is all whites. So Bree is faced with a lot of racism in this college. She is faced with being looked at as, oh, you're that Black girl, you're a servant, like that type of feeling. It is such an uneasy feeling. I felt angered enough that I felt like being her best friend, being able to jump into this book and just fight people off. Literally. Even the cop that picked her and her best friend up was like, oh, how'd you get into this college? Oh, like, you know, It wasn't off of merit. Meanwhile, she is smart. She is a smart young Black woman. And this cop is just like, I know you ain't get in here because of your grades. Like, you just probably got in here because of DEI. Y'all, when I tell y'all I wanted to jump in through the book, and there was plenty of times I wanted to just fling this book across the freaking room. It was just, some of it was very anger inducing. But this book, I absolutely enjoyed the fact that it had so much cultural significance, especially to Black culture, Black history. And also, I just love the fact that she also is powerful in her own way. So if you want a book with demons, because these legend boards are fighting demons, if you like magic, if you like, this book was a little bit more, romance kind of, but it wasn't like a big deal romance. This book focused a lot more on just Bree as an individual, Bree growing into her own power. However, book 2, there's a lot more romance going on. So if you have not read this book in 2025, or this series, as a matter of fact, I suggest you put this in your TBR for 2026 because it is amazing. Now, the next book we're going to be discussing is The Last Letter by Rebecca Yarros. Now, this book right here, I picked this up at Sam's Club, by the way, and I love the sprayed edges. I loved everything about it. This book right here was my boo-hoo cry fest. If you want a book that has you sobbing long after you read it, during reading it, I mean, I started my sob fest in chapter 3 to 4 because I'm such an empath. I'm such an empath. I feel books. I rate my books off of vibes. This to me was a 5-star cry fest. This book has me still thinking about it now, and I still think about it often. This book is a staple in Sobfest, okay? This book has to be like top 5, I want to say, for Sobfesting. So if you are interested in a military romance, a military vibe, Rebecca Yarros does a lot of military books. I actually dove into almost all her books this year, and all her books include some type of military because she basically has military experience because her husband was in the military, in the army to be exact. So a lot of her books are very much into military and into that dark, anxiety, sad, very emotional reading bits, if you know what I mean. But there's something about this book about children dying, about just cancer, and just having to deal with all of that as a single mother, and also writing letters back and forth to your brother's best friend in the same unit had me in my heartstrings. Like, I didn't know how to process so much emotion in such a short time. Like, this book wasn't like huge. It's like 380 something pages, 390 at most, but it packed a punch. There was curveballs that I didn't think. You have an FMC who's dealing with a sick daughter. She had twins, so the daughter is dealing with cancer, a newly diagnosed cancer. And then you have her brother in the military overseas. And yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot, especially as a mom. And you don't have to be a mom to be empathetic in this book, but I feel that being a mom just amplified that feeling, that emotional pull. So if you want a cry fest for 2026, if you haven't picked up this book, I suggest you do. And moving on to the next book is Zodiac Academy. Now, there's a lot of books in Zodiac Academy. I will say that. I did enjoy reading this entire series this year. I think that was one of my goals for 2025, and I finally completed it. It feels great. Do I miss this world? Absolutely. I think about it often. I think about, what is Seth doing? What are the twins doing? And how are they handling parenthood? Like, I feel like being the auntie that checks up on my characters, you know? But my favorite book was Restless Stars, which is the last book. This to me was a 5-star. The rest of the books were kind of like a 4, a 3. I did say in my review of Zodiac Academy that this series should have been less than all these books. I think it could have been compressed into maybe 5. I don't think it should have been dragged on for like maybe 9. I absolutely enjoyed this last book. It was kind of like a love letter to me as a reader. because it's just the ending and the culmination of the anticipation, the getting to the war and getting to everything that these two twins have been through and learned. And I absolutely loved it. I love the magic system in this book. And if you have not read Zodiac Academy, it's a wild ride, but it's a ride that is very obsessive. And this book, if there's one word that I can describe this whole series, is obsessed. I literally couldn't stop thinking about it. I thought I was going to go into a deep funk with reads. I thought that I was going to go into my biggest slump ever after this because I just missed the world and I didn't know how to go on. I really didn't. So this ninth book for me was 5 stars because it had action, it had fighting, it had war, it had descendants, dead people coming back. And it was just so much going on, but it was so exhilarating and so emotional. A lot of different deaths, yes, but grief also. I will be linking my video of Zodiac Academy down below if you want to take a look at it and look at my thoughts around this series in general. But this is a must read, y'all. I know it's a lot of books, but damn it, the ending is just so good. The next book I'm going to be discussing is Along Came Amor. Now, this is by a Latin author, Alexis Daria, and this is a Latin read. I love my Latin reads. I got into my Latin reads era this year, and I love it. I love connecting back to my Caribbean roots, and this book right here covered a whole lot. This is a romance book. It covers trauma. It covers just things that I grew up in and made me realize, damn, I need therapy. I need therapy. This book was actually the book that got me into therapy. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. And it's not because the book was horrible and I needed therapy because I read it. It's because I've noticed myself so much. Like, I noticed that there was just a mirror being held up for me. And I felt that the FMC, Ava, was just a mirror of myself, being this perfect person, trying to be this perfect person for the family and trying to do everything right, but it's never enough for the family. Like, there's just so much layers into the trauma dumping. And I was just like, I need to book that appointment. So this book, actually, I need to be thankful for this year. This was a 5-star, but I needed to be thankful for it because I need to work through some of my trauma, especially growing up in a Caribbean household. Now, this book is book 3 of a series. The series goes over 3 cousins, and these 3 cousins are called primas of power. Primas means cousins in Spanish. So these 3 books go over all 3 cousins, all their love lives, all their romances. And they also uncover what they're dealing with and what they're battling with within family dynamics. And it also covers a lot of what their trauma is. I loved all 3 books, but I think this one hit home for me. This one was just kind of like, damn, it sucker punched me. But if you are interested in reading about a romance and more with cultural Latin dynamics and family dynamics, family trauma, working through it, this is the perfect read for you. I absolutely enjoyed it. And I think Alexis Daria killed it with these series. And the book covers are gorgeous. And that's the first thing that attracted me to it. I was like, ooh, the book covers look nice. And then I was like, wait, this is Latin reads. And then I was like, wait, this is a Latin author. And I was just so excited. You know, when you're so excited to see yourself on TV or see representation of yourself, that's exactly how I felt. And my honorable mention for this year is ACOTAR. Now, I have an obsession, an unhealthy obsession with ACOTAR, specifically A Court of Mist and Fury, and specifically A Court of Silver Flames. It's unhealthy, y'all. And I'm obsessed with these books. Yes, as a whole series, I loved it, but these 2 books right here were amazing to me. And if you haven't read ACOTAR, make that your 2026 goal because it's good. And these books got me into fantasy. I will always be grateful for ACOTAR for immersing me in different worlds and introducing me into different types of fantasy and introducing me into different reads. And I absolutely enjoyed A Court of Mist and Fury, specifically chapters 54 and 55. Don't ask me why, but it hits different. And especially when I downloaded the audiobooks, the dramatized audiobooks for these, Yeah, it changes the game. I just thought these would be an honorable mention because I do a reread of them every year. So these are all my fantasy and romance reads of 2025. These are all my 5-star reads. And these are books that I loved a little bit too much, an obsession. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these, or tell me what your favorite book of 2025 has been. And don't forget to stick around for more romance and fantasy bookish content. And I'll see you in my next one.